What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. I truly appreciate y'all coming back and giving the channel the love. All the views, subscribers lately have been off the charts. Means so much to me. I truly appreciate all y'all coming back and giving me that support. It just blows me away, and there's gonna be so much more coming next week with Witch Queen. It's about to be a banger of a couple weeks when we first start out. So much to cover, and we are finally in our last weekend of Season of the Lost after months and months of this season. We are in the final stretch, and it's gonna be so banging. I cannot wait for all the content. Now, to cover some of the stuff that we know going into this season with Void 3.0, I want to cover everything we know so far with the TWABs that we've gotten and the Vidoc. So we do have a lot to go over. We got all the new aspects for our Titan, Hunter, and Warlock. All the fragments that we know so far. We're definitely going to get more once the raid gets cleared on March 5th. After that first clear, that world's first, there will be some new fragments that become unlocked, and we also have the new verbs right here for Void 3.0, which we will be going over first. So we have Suppress. The target is taking out of any active ability when suppressed. While suppressed, the target cannot activate any ability or movement modes, and the combatants are disoriented. So when you get suppressed, you're going to be moving a little bit slower, you can't see too well, and then you won't be able to pop any new abilities like your dodge, your grenades, anything like that. We have Weakened. The target takes increased damage and has slowed movement and is disoriented. So the weakened state is going to be super good for doing that DPS on enemies. Volatile. I absolutely love this one. I think it's going to be crazy for some void builds. The target will explode in a void detonation upon taking additional damage. If the target dies before Volatile has taken enough damage to detonate, the detonation happens anyways. So you get an enemy that becomes volatile based on your aspects and fragments that we are getting, and then they will explode in a void explosion. Gonna be sweet. Invisibility. The player vanishes from sight and does not appear on radar. That's pretty typical. We've had on Hunters. Gonna be interesting to see it on other classes though. We have Overshield. The player is granted a protective barrier that immediately stacks on top of their existing health and shields and intercepts the incoming damage. Overshields reduce the damage taken from PvE combatants specifically. So when we get this overshield, just like always, goes on top of our health and our existing shield, and it takes the damage first over those two of our other healths, and we get reduced damage from those PvP combatants. This will be super nice for that end game content. Devour. The player is immediately restored to full health upon activating Devour from any source and is granted grenade energy. When the player gets a kill with Devour active, they increase the health that they get, the grenade energy that they get, and the timer is extended for the Devour buff. This right here was only on Warlocks. We're gonna get it, it seems like, on all of our players as long as we can get Devour procced, and it's gonna be absolutely insane getting our health back consistently with our other two classes, Hunter and Titan. Next off right here, I want to go over the Titan aspects and the changes that they have to their super and abilities. So first off, for our Titan aspects, we have Controlled Demolition. Hitting a target with a void ability or volatile detonation will make them volatile. So when you have Controlled Demolitionists on, you hit them with a grenade, you hit them with a melee, or any of the other volatile detonations that you are creating, they will become volatile again, causing those void explosions everywhere. Going to be crazy for the Void 3.0 builds. Bastion. Casting your barricade generates an overshield for your allies and yourself. Hunkering behind that barricade will regenerate your overshield over time and extend its duration. So this is going to be super nice to throw down your shield, get that overshield on the barricade, and then just do whatever you got to do. Get the res, take some extra damage on a boss in a situation. It's definitely going to be a very situational aspect to use. Now right here, our last one, we have offensive bulwark. So while you have your overshield or are inside a ward of dawn, grenades charge significantly faster and you have increased melee damage. You also gain an additional shield throw for your Sentinel's shield super. So having this bulwark on, you will be able to do some increased damage. Let's say if you pair it with your other one, the Bastion, you cast your barricade, you get that overshield, then you can do some damage with your melee because it has increased melee damage. You get your grenade back faster. It's just going to be some crazy synergy that we got going on with these aspects. Now for the super and ability changes for our Titan here, we have the Ward of Dawn now nearly instantly activates. So it moved to the fastest cooldown tier for supers, so you're going to get it back a lot faster than we did before, giving it more of a reactionary use. So as soon as one of these light hive guardians, whatever you want to call them, pops a super, Nova Bomb, Blade Barrage, something like that, you can instantly cast your bubble to protect yourself and your teammates instead of it having a little bit of like a wind up, if you would call that. So it's like it said, it instantly to protect yourself a lot faster. Now the Sentinel shield will still allow Titans to traverse using the bash and throwing shields. If you have controlled demolitionist on, that aspect that we just talked about, throwing shields increase the damage and apply a volatile. So if you have controlled demolitionist on with your shield bash, you will have them become increased damage when you throw your shield, and those shields create a volatile on the enemies. Absolutely crazy. Also, bashing kills using your bash, your shoulder charge, if you will, grants overshield on your Titan. Absolutely wild what they're doing with Void, and that's just our Titan. So next right here we have our hunter aspects. First off, we have Trapper's Ambition. Player can activate Quickfall to spend their melee charge and dive to the ground, creating a smoke cloud upon impact. So it's like Shatter Dive, but for Void, calling it Quickfall. Enemies caught in the cloud are weakened and allies become invisible. Now, in addition, your smoke bombs, your snare bombs that you get your melee on Hunter, upon attaching to surface or enemies, causes nearby allies to become invisible. So this Trapper's Ambition is going to be super big on creating invisibility for you and your team, as well as using that cloud with your Quickfall to weaken enemies in a dire situation. Next, we have Vanishing Step, which is quite interesting. Dodging makes the hunter invisible. So instead of it being one of our different Gambler's Dodge or our Normaler Dodge, just by using Top Tree Tether, we're going to have to throw on this aspect right here for Vanishing Step to dodge and make yourself invisible. Finally, last but not least, we have Stylish Executioner. Defeating a Void debuffed target, so in its weakened, suppressed, or volatile state, grants invisibility and true sight. While invisible and after a Stylish Execution, your next melee weakens enemies. So this is a lot going on in just a little bit. So if you have an enemy that is debuffed, weakened, suppressed, or volatile, and you defeat that target, you are granted invisibility and true sight. So wall hacks, basically, you can see what's around you and you are invisible. While you are invisible, if you do it again, defeat another debuffed target, which is weakened, suppressed, or volatile, your next melee attack weakens them, so you can kind of perpetually weaken an enemy, defeat them, go invisible, get that melee to proc where it'll weaken the enemy, and just kind of rinse and repeat. Gonna be kind of crazy for the hunter and what we can do with it. I love the changes so far. Next, we'll be going over the super and ability changes to our hunter with Void 3.0. So first off, we got Mobius Quiver. Fire a volley of 3 arrows that track the targets and make them volatile if they become tethered. So tether is going to be a super good way to make enemies volatile and get those Void explosions. Next off, we got Deadfall. The Void anchors will now pull enemies towards it when it impacts a surface or a target. So it's kind of like a little black hole that the tether is creating. As soon as it hits, it'll kind of suck enemies into that position for a second, and it's going to be super nice to pull an enemy out from behind cover, in my personal opinion, both PvE and PvP. Last but not least, we got our Snare Bomb, our Smoke Bomb melee. Now, weakens enemies / opponents in PvP. They lose their HUD and have visual effects on the screen. So in PvP, if you get hit by a Snare Bomb, you're going to lose your radar, you're going to lose your HUD, and you're going to have some type of visual effect on your screen, kind of like when you get frozen, or if you're in like the darkness and your screen starts to go black, it's going to be something along those lines. Next off, we have our Warlock and its aspects. Now, I think the Warlock has some of the best aspects to go over. Chaos Accelerant right here. Hold down your grenade button to overcharge your Vortex, Axion, Scatter, and Magnetic grenades. So you're going to be able to pair that with controversial holds and kind of really overcharge your grenades like crazy. Magnetic grenade overcharge is into a handheld supernova, so that's kind of cool. You don't have to be using Nova Warp to have handheld supernova. You can use magnetic grades and Chaos Accelerant to make those handheld supernovas now. Feeding the Void. Defeat an enemy with a Void ability to activate Devour. So we're going to be able to throw this on and have Devour procced at all times when we defeat an enemy with our Void abilities. Kind of crazy, but just like Bottom Tree Nova Bomb that we had before, when you get those ability kills, you would proc Devour. Child of the Old Gods, probably the craziest aspect that we're getting for all of our subclasses in general between Hunter, Titan, and Warlock. This thing is crazy. You can see it's got a full paragraph dedicated to it. So, casting your Rift to summon a Void Soul. When you damage an enemy with your weapon, the Void Soul will launch itself towards them and detonate nearby. This attaches draining tendrils which deal damage and weaken the target. So it gives a weakening effect, that verb, on the target, and it deals additional damage. When your Void Soul deals the damage, it restores either melee and grenade energy if you're running the Healing Rift, or your health if you're running Empowering Rift, which is kind of crazy. So you can run an Empowering Rift to do more damage, and if you have this on, that Void Soul deals that damage and you get health back, kind of like your Healing Rift, so it's like a 2-in-1 banger right there. Defeating an enemy who is being drained grants you Rift energy. So it's almost like you can perpetually get your Rift back when you're doing damage with the Void Souls, and then you're using like Empowering Rift, you get your health back. It's just going to be some crazy combinations, and they did say in the Vidoc, if you're running this Void Soul, someone else is running an Arc Soul, there's going to be some crazy synergy and kind of cinematics that go with that, which I am super pumped for. I think this Child of the Old Gods is going to never leave Void for a lot of the Warlocks. Next, covering the super and the ability changes for our Warlock. So first off, our Vortex super enhancement. We're going to have different enhancements for our supers here. Nova Bomb will draw enemies into a singularity it creates, damaging them once they are inside. Nova Warp does this too. So when you throw your Nova Bomb, it'll create that singularity that kind of sucks them in and destroys them. And the same thing with our Nova Warp super. When you do your explosion, it'll create like a little black hole where you explode it and suck enemies into it. It's going to be super wild to see. Next, we got Cataclysm enhancement. So our Nova Bomb will track and travel across the map to enemies. The detonation will shatter into smaller seekers, but you can shoot the Nova Bomb to detonate it early. So it's kind of like we had with Top Tree Nova. This is just what it'll be when you are using that Cataclysmic enhancement. Next, we have our Pocket Singularity melee for our Warlock. It fires an unstoppable ball of void energy that detonates nearby enemies, pushing them away and making them volatile. So it's kind of going to be like our Celestial Fire, I believe, but it's going to throw out a void ball that when it explodes, it pushes them back, so it has that mechanic, and it also makes them volatile for those void explosions. Now, before I go over the fragments that we know so far, there is another little change. So changes for Void 3.0, all subclasses will have access to all void grenade types. So you're going to be able to run Suppressor on every single class. You're going to be able to run Void Wall on every single class. It's going to be kind of interesting to mix and match our grenades. Plus, the grenades are getting a little tweak as well. So like Vortex grenades, when you throw it, it'll now suck in enemies towards that grenade instead of just being like a vortex that, you know, puts out an area of effect. It'll actually suck people into the middle of the grenade, which is super sweet. So last but not least, we got our fragments to go over. I know that this is kind of a longer video, but there is just so much to go over with Void 3.0. It's going to be crazy. So right here we have 4 fragments that they are giving us, and they also gave us 3 inside of the Vidoc as well. So first off, right here we have Echo of Expulsion. So Void ability kills cause enemies to explode, and you have an intellect boost. I'm assuming it'll be like plus 10 intellect on that. So your Void ability kills cause enemies to explode. Kind of crazy, kind of like bottom tree solar that we have right now for Warlocks. Echo of Provision. Damaging enemies with grenades grants melee energy. That's pretty typical that we have, you know, the reverse as well. So you have a strength penalty, which is probably going to be minus 10 strength. Echo of Domineering. After suppressing a target, gain greatly increased mobility for a short duration of time, and your equipped weapons reload from reserves with a discipline increase as well. So this is going to be kind of interesting if you suppress a target with whatever it may be, tractor cannon, your tether, whatever other void abilities that cause suppression. You will be able to move faster, jump higher for a short duration, and you reload your reserves. Gonna be some crazy builds that you can make with this, I do believe. Echo of Undermining. Void grenades weaken enemies. So you have a discipline penalty for this one though. So your void grenades weaken enemies is going to be kind of interesting because you can proc, you know, a couple of your different aspects with this, and those verbs are going to be super interesting to see what kind of synergy we can get on the builds. So as you can see from the Vidoc, we have a couple extra that they give us. So Echo of Exchange right here. Melee final blows grant grenade energy. Basically the opposite of Echo of Provision, which damaging with your grenade grants melee energy. Next we have Echo of the Remnants. Your lingering grenade effects, so your Vortex Grenade, your Void Wall, your Void Spike, or Axion Bolt have increased duration. So those Axion Bolts in Crucible with this are going to chase forever. And the last one that they give us inside of the Vidoc is Echo of Reprisal. Final blows when surrounded by combatants grant super energy. So as you can see, there are a lot more than what I covered. They're going to give us more, like I said, after the raid gets cleared. But if it's anything like Stasis, we're going to have about 14 of these to get in various fashions, and they will be unlocked throughout the story and after the raid is cleared. Now, that was so much to go over, but I am too excited for this to happen next week. It's going to be absolutely insane, and I cannot wait to cover everything that we get with the Witch Queen. So thank you guys for sticking around for this long video. I know it was a lot of information, but we went over everything that we know so far about Void 3.0. It's going to be absolutely insane. I'm loving it so far and can't wait to actually play with it. So thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.